What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video. This one is called After Years of Plausible Deniability, I Know Living in the End Works. This is a post from the Neville subreddit, so here we go. So, I've always been a highly spiritual person. Cognitive dreams when I was younger, really sensitive to energy, naturally into the mystic sciences, etc., blah, blah, blah. Numerous synchronicities over time, but of course, throughout that time and through the disappointments, of course, there's always been an element of me to say, well, even if it doesn't really work, I should be living in the end, having faith, going to sleep with the wish fulfilled, etc. So it'll work anyway. Whilst I'm very spiritual, I'm also, due to my upbringing, very practical. I want evidence. And this is awesome because this is what we've been talking about on the channel. We talk about how Alex Hormozy, who I'm sure that you've heard of him, if you haven't, he's an extremely successful entrepreneur, but also public figure now. He's just blowing up all over social media, says that he wants evidence. He talks about, I don't like affirmations because I want to build evidence. But I think that both work, and they both work hand in hand. So here we go. So let's see what they have to say about this. Searching for this evidence had led me to understand that many spiritual practices are based on or linked to various aspects of neurology and cognitive behavior. Okay, fine. I've also been very skeptical of religion. So of course, when I first heard Neville go from talking about manifestation to the law and the promise, I said, oh boy, here we go. As I did as well. Well, there's just been too many bridges of incidents over my journey for me to say, well, that would have happened anyway. Secondly, the deep esoteric / allegorical knowledge of ancient scripts, the Bible, is amazing, that Neville had in his brain, especially if you think about the fact that computers didn't exist. And they, at that time, barely had a mail system that could get information from one point of the globe to another in a month. Neville says, put it to the test. Well, I did. Here's what happened. I had the luxury of, for about 9 months, gestation period, what a coincidence, kind of immersing myself in spiritual studies without actually becoming a monk because, well, hey, here on the planet we live in, we still have bills to pay. Exactly. 1, constructing a scene. I constructed a basic scene that would represent my wishes fulfilled. To make this practical, basically I took a few of my desires that all linked together, created a scene to meditate on as the end result, and basically did just that. Meditated on it each day, and as much as I could in my imagination. I imagined that I was living out that scene / reality all day. I mixed this with Seth, Jane Roberts' practices of not doing creative visualization for more than 15 minutes at a time and totally dropping it once complete. And that is so interesting to me because that is exactly what I talked to Naya about on the channel the other day. And I'll leave a link to my conversation with her before it. After she puts out an intention, she will say, and it is done, and drop it. And we find that in all of these different types of modalities, whether it's hypnosis, whether it is intention setting, or whether it is she was well versed in magical practices, it is the same thing. You have to drop it. You have to let go of it after. So at the time, my scene seemed somewhat possible, but kind of improbable. More wishful or hopeful than anything. Hope deferred, anyone? A title of a Neville lecture. Because if you're constantly dwelling on it, that is telling your body, telling the universe, look, they're worried about it. They don't have it. And that is creating a dissonance between you and that thing. So anyways, I summarize it all into one I am statement or affirmation. It's a scene. Result, I now live that scene, almost exact, but naturally, with greater quality every day. Bonus, I had also added in Earl Nightingale's technique from The Strangest Secret of putting one goal, wish, desire into the shortest sentence and sticking that sentence on a piece of paper and putting it in my wallet for 30 days at a time per desired manifestation. Yes, it's a great technique. Napoleon Hill also talks about that. 2, going to sleep as if the wish is fulfilled. This is a powerful one because, well, science says that when one goes to sleep, their mood, when they do, is the most important thing to their mental health. I used Neville's practice of pretending he was sleeping in New York when he was really in the army wishing to be discharged. This was difficult for me because then I'd end up overthinking whilst trying to go to sleep. So instead, I just fell asleep as if I was in the place where I would be if my wishes were fulfilled. So quite simply, I imagined the window where it would be if I were in the place I wanted to be, if I were actually there. Result, I'm actually here. And if you guys are having trouble getting into that state, getting into that relaxed state, the state akin to sleep that Neville Goddard talks about, I've created multiple recordings, and I'm going to leave a link to one of them up here. I have a few different versions. One is just a silent, one has pink noise in the background, and there's another one that has a background pink noise that's extended. But the pink noise is also intended to help you get into that alpha state, that alpha level of mind, which is going to be powerful for you to imprint the subconscious mind. Whether you are using visualization, whether you are using affirmations, or a combination of the both, or asking a question, ask affirmations, which I talked about with Danny from Fly Girls Manifesting here on the channel recently, or simply wanting to get into that relaxed state of awareness where you can detach, let go of the tension from the body, the tension that is creating the dissonance between you and your desire and you and your ability. Because that, as I talked to Tim Grimes recently on the channel, he says that relaxation that's a tantamount foundation, in his opinion, and in mine as well, to putting out your intentions and manifesting your desires. To be all honest, like having a good quality of life. If you can't get into an inwardly relaxed state, you're carrying this inner tension all the time, you're not going to be able to be effective no matter what you're trying to do. You're constantly going to be in that beta brainwave, fight or flight state, and you're not going to be able to think properly. You're not going to be able to generate ideas, access your intuition, be creative, any of these things. So anyways, like I said, check that out. And I'm actually really happy with the way it's turned out and a lot of the comments I've been getting on it. So I appreciate you guys that have been leaving comments on that recording. So 3, I remember when. This technique I use almost regularly, if not daily, at least weekly. I would say, I remember when I was in current situation before the wish fulfilled. I do remember when, in actuality, now, that's the result. So those 3 things were actual practical exercises I did regularly. Now, as if the above wasn't enough, I just stumbled across a little vision board I made years ago during that time. And by vision board, I mean a notebook with a few magazine images of what I wanted to manifest thrown on a piece of paper. Yeah, this doesn't have to look pretty. It's just a vibration, isn't it? Results. It's as if this vision board was an Amazon order that showed up a few years later. A few years. Wow, it took that long, you say? Well, sure, because as Neville said numerous times, if it be long, wait, for it is sure, and it will not be late. That's quoting from Habakkuk 2:3. If it seems slow, wait, yes, for sure, it will surely come, it will not delay. So, it works. And if you believe that it doesn't work, then it does. Because since everyone is yourself pushed out, well, you get the point. Sweet. And yeah, for that I remember when technique, I wanted to leave this video off with a couple examples for you guys that you guys could use. So it's like, I remember when I didn't have this amazing relationship that I have now. I remember when I didn't have that ideal living situation that I now have. I remember now when I did not have that perfect podcast studio that I now have. I remember when I was only at 3K subs, when now I'm at 100K. I remember when I was only making $10,000 a month, and now I'm making $100,000 a month. I remember when I felt like I was too afraid to constantly travel and constantly be on the go. And now I'm in different cities at all times of the year. I remember when I didn't have the amazing group of friends and like-minded people that I'm now connected with on a regular basis. I remember when I didn't have that supportive friend group of people who are constantly improving themselves and looking to become better versions of themselves. I remember when I wasn't constantly surrounded by creative people who are constantly betting on themselves and becoming self-actualized. I remember when I didn't feel creatively fulfilled. I remember when I wasn't making as much of an impact on thousands of people every single day. I remember when I wasn't making thousands of dollars a day. Anyways, guys, much love as always. Drop this with a like, hit me with a subscribe if you've not done so already, and I will see you guys in the next